The ocean is breathtaking, mysterious, and beautiful, but it can also be unforgiving. Beneath the surface lies an alien world of darkness, pressure, and dangers that even the most experienced divers sometimes cannot survive. From record-breaking dives gone wrong to tragic mysteries that still haunt families, these stories reveal just how merciless the sea can be. Here are 15 of the most horrific scuba diving deaths ever recorded. Viewer discretion is advised. David Shaw, The Fatal Recovery. Most brutal diving deaths in 19 minutes. In January 2005, Australian diver David Shaw set out on one of the most dangerous missions in the history of diving. His goal was not personal glory, but closure for another family. 10 years earlier, a young diver named Dion Dreyer had drowned in Bushman's Hole, a submerged freshwater cave in South Africa's Kalahari Desert. Dion's body had sunk so deep, to around 270 meters, that rescue teams at the time declared it unreachable. From above, Bushman's Hole looks harmless, a quiet circular lake in the desert. Beneath it, however, is a vertical abyss, colder than ice and darker than space. At such depths, divers have only minutes to work and more than 12 hours of careful decompression before resurfacing. Ascend too quickly, and the nitrogen in the body expands like a shaken soda bottle, causing decompression sickness, also known as the bends. It is excruciating and often fatal. David had first seen Dion's remains in 2004 while training for a different record-setting dive. He spotted the skeleton still in a wetsuit, trapped by the silt and mud at the bottom. Shaw vowed to bring him back for his family. Months later, with a full support team, a helmet camera, and a specially designed body bag, he attempted the recovery. Shaw reached the body, but when he disturbed the silt, the gases trapped inside Dion's remains made the corpse unexpectedly buoyant. The body floated up and became entangled in Shaw's gear. At the same time, the extreme pressure turned the oxygen in Shaw's rebreather toxic, poisoning him from the inside. Disoriented and struggling against the tangle, Shaw lost consciousness. Days later, both bodies floated to the surface together, still connected. Shaw died trying to keep his promise, but in the end, he gave Dion's family the closure they had been denied for a decade. Dion Dreyer, the original victim, most brutal diving deaths in 19 minutes. Dion Dreyer was only 20 years old when he died in Bushman's Hole in 1994. He was young, adventurous, and like many divers, fascinated by pushing limits. During a routine cave exploration, something went wrong. He drowned and sank to depths beyond the reach of conventional recovery teams. For his parents, the tragedy was compounded by the fact that his body was unretrievable. For 10 years, Bushman's Hole remained Dion's silent grave until David Shaw's fateful mission. While Shaw's death added another layer of tragedy, it also ensured that Dion finally returned home. His story serves as a reminder of how a single dive can alter the course of so many lives. Yuri Lepsky, The Blue Hole Recording. Most brutal diving deaths in 19 minutes. In April 2000, Russian diver Yuri Lipsky attempted a dive into Egypt's infamous Blue Hole in Dahab. At first glance, this site looks like a tropical paradise, but to divers, it's known as the Diver's Cemetery, a vertical sinkhole over 300 feet deep with a deceptive tunnel called the Arch leading to the open ocean. It has claimed dozens of lives. Yuri made a series of fatal mistakes. He descended alone, too fast, and on regular compressed air rather than a specialized gas mix. As he sank past 100 feet, nitrogen in his bloodstream began to affect his brain like alcohol. At 200 feet, nitrogen narcosis hit him like a blackout drunk stupor. By the time he reached 300 feet, he was hallucinating and losing motor control. What makes Yuri's case infamous is that he had strapped a video camera to his helmet. The footage captured his frantic breathing, his laughter turning to panic, and his final moments as he clawed at the seabed. The chilling video is still used in diving schools today as a stark warning. The ocean does not forgive arrogance or inexperience. Shek Exley, The Record Breaker's Final Dive. Most brutal diving deaths in 19 minutes. By 1994, Shek Exley was considered the Michael Jordan of cave diving. With over 4,000 dives to his name, he pioneered techniques that others still use today. But even legends are mortal. That year, Exley attempted to break the world record for the deepest scuba dive in El Zacaton, a water-filled sinkhole in Mexico over 1,100 feet deep. At such depths, oxygen becomes toxic, nitrogen causes delirium, and helium, often used in deep dives, can induce high-pressure nervous syndrome, a condition that rattles the brain and body like a storm. Exley descended alone after his partner aborted. Somewhere past 800 feet, he blacked out. When rescuers later recovered his body, they found him still clutching the guideline, as if trying to find his way back. For someone who had mastered the deep, the darkness still claimed him. Ben McDaniel, the mystery at Vortex Spring. Most brutal diving deaths in 19 minutes. On August 18, 2010, 30-year-old Ben McDaniel entered Vortex Spring in Florida, a diving site with crystal clear water and an extensive cave system. He was not a certified cave diver, but he had been exploring increasingly deeper parts of the system. That evening, he descended alone and never returned. His truck was found parked nearby with his wallet, phone, and dog waiting at home. Rescue divers searched every accessible passage of the cave, but found nothing. No body, no equipment, no trace at all. The mystery of Ben's disappearance has fueled endless theories. Did he drown deep in the unmapped passages? Did he stage his own disappearance? Or was it something else entirely? To this day, his body has never been recovered, making it one of diving's most haunting cold cases. Agnes Maloka, the explorer, lost in the dark, most brutal diving deaths in 19 minutes. Agnes Maloka was one of Australia's most respected cave divers, known for exploring and mapping new systems. She appeared in National Geographic documentaries and inspired countless divers worldwide. But in 2011, while exploring South Australia's Tank Cave, tragedy struck. Tank Cave is a maze of submerged tunnels with ceilings so low that divers can barely turn around. Silt clouds can erase visibility in seconds. Agnes became separated from the safety line in one of these passages. Her breathing quickened, consuming precious air. Despite her training, she ran out of time. Her body was found just 20 meters from an air pocket. She had almost made it. The fact that she died not on a thrill-seeking adventure, but while helping map caves to make them safer for others, makes her story all the more tragic. Craig Dio, the tank implosion tale. Most brutal diving deaths in 19 minutes. Among diving lore, few stories are as chilling as the alleged death of Craig Dio. He was said to have died when his scuba tank imploded underwater, crushing his chest cavity instantly. Scuba tanks are engineered to withstand enormous pressure, both internally from compressed air and externally from water. Explosions during refilling are documented, but implosions during a dive are almost unheard of. In fact, no verified record exists of such an event. Whether the story is true or exaggerated, it persists because it plays on divers' deepest fears. The idea that the very equipment designed to sustain life could collapse and kill without warning has made the tale legendary. The Crystal Bay tragedy. 7 women swept away. 7 female divers lost for 3 days. The Crystal Bay tragedy. On Valentine's Day 2014, 7 Japanese women set out for what was meant to be a dream dive off the coast of Bali. Experienced and guided by 2 instructors, they were confident and prepared. But the ocean had other plans. Sudden storms and violent downcurrents swept them into the open sea. Hours passed before their boat captain even realized they were missing. By nightfall, they were 20 kilometers from where they had started, tossed about by waves and rain. For 3 days, they clung to coral reefs, surviving on rainwater and coconuts. Sharks circled, exhaustion set in, and the fear of death grew heavier each night. Eventually, 5 were rescued alive, sunburned and dehydrated but breathing. 2 others, including instructor Shoko Takahashi, were not so lucky. Their bodies washed ashore weeks later. The tragedy exposed not just the fury of the ocean, but also negligence by the boat captain, who faced criminal charges for abandoning them. The Byford Dolphin disaster, explosive decompression. In November 1983, one of the most gruesome accidents in diving history occurred on the Byford Dolphin oil rig in the North Sea. 4 saturation divers were resting in a pressurized chamber when a support tender accidentally detached the diving bell before the chamber doors were sealed. The result was catastrophic. In an instant, the pressure inside dropped from 9 atmospheres to 1. The divers' blood literally boiled as nitrogen exploded into bubbles inside their bodies. 3 died instantly. The 4th, Truls Hellevik, was standing near the door. The decompression force tore his body apart, ejecting his internal organs onto the deck. 2 surface crew members were also killed or gravely injured by the blast. The accident shocked the world and forced the commercial diving industry to completely overhaul safety systems. It remains one of the darkest days in professional diving history. Wes Skiles, the filmmaker's last dive. Dive gone wrong. Tragic end of Wesley Skiles. Wes Skiles was not just a cave diver, but also a celebrated photographer and filmmaker. His documentaries for PBS, Discovery, and National Geographic brought the hidden world of underwater caves to millions of viewers. In July 2010, he was diving off Florida's coast, filming reef footage for a television project. At just 75 feet deep, it should have been routine for someone of his experience, yet fellow divers later found him unresponsive on the seabed. The official cause was drowning, but suspicion fell on the rebreather equipment he was using. Unlike traditional scuba gear, rebreathers recycle air, allowing for longer and quieter dives. However, they can also fail, causing a buildup of carbon dioxide. Wes's widow later filed a lawsuit against the equipment manufacturer, claiming negligence. The case highlighted the risks even experts face when relying on complex technology underwater. Michael Packard swallowed by a whale when diving went wrong. On June 11, 2021, lobster diver Michael Packard was working off Cape Cod when he suddenly felt himself engulfed in darkness. It felt like being hit by a truck, and for a terrifying moment, he thought he was inside a shark. Incredibly, he was inside the mouth of a humpback whale. The whale had accidentally scooped him up while feeding. Pinned in its jaws, Michael thought he was going to die. But after a few seconds, the whale surfaced and spat him out. Battered and bruised but alive, Michael's story made headlines worldwide. It was a reminder that the sea is full of surprises, some survivable, others not. Brett Gilliam's expedition, Shark Attack. In 1972, renowned diver Brett Gilliam joined an expedition off St. Croix Island in the Caribbean. He and his colleagues were exploring a cliff at 64 meters when sharks appeared. At first, they ignored the divers, but soon chaos erupted. One diver, Rod Temple, was mauled by a 4-meter shark. Brett rushed to help, but another shark joined the attack. Despite punching and kicking the predators, Brett was powerless as his friend was torn apart. He barely made it back to the surface alive. The attack traumatized him and served as a brutal lesson. Even the most skilled divers are vulnerable to the ocean's predators. Tina Watson, the honeymoon mystery. In October 2003, newlyweds Tina and Gabe Watson traveled to Australia's Great Barrier Reef to dive the wreck of the Yongala. During the dive, Tina lost consciousness and drowned. At first, it seemed like a tragic accident, but suspicions quickly grew. Gabe was an experienced diver, yet he failed to remove Tina's weight belt or share his air. Witnesses recalled seeing him hold her in a way that restricted her movement. Her regulator was still in her mouth, and her tank still had air when she was recovered. Investigators concluded that Gabe may have turned off her regulator and staged the scene. His behavior afterward, including removing items from her grave, only deepened suspicions. He was eventually convicted of manslaughter, but served only a short sentence, leaving many convinced that justice was never fully served. Tom and Eileen Lonergan lost at sea when diving went wrong. On January 25, 1998, Tom and Eileen Lonergan joined a group dive in Australia's Coral Sea. After surfacing, they realized their boat had left without them. Alone in open water, they were stranded. Their belongings were later found on the boat, and a chilling message was discovered on a dive slate. "We have been abandoned at St. Crispin's Reef. Please rescue us before we die." Despite extensive searches, their bodies were never found. Theories range from drowning to shark attacks to even a deliberate plan, as Eileen's diary hinted at Tom's depression. The truth remains one of diving's most unsettling mysteries. Craig Scola, The price of a souvenir when diving went wrong. In 1998, diver Craig Scola set out to explore the wreck of the Andrea Doria, an Italian ocean liner that sank in 1956. Known as the Mount Everest of diving, it lies in treacherous waters off Massachusetts with strong currents and unstable interiors. Craig hoped to bring back china dishes as souvenirs. On his dive, he retrieved several pieces but surfaced far too quickly from over 60 meters. The rapid ascent caused explosive decompression sickness. His skin turned blue, his eyes bloodshot, and foam appeared at his mouth. Despite desperate attempts at resuscitation, he died. The china was still in his bag, a tragic reminder of how curiosity and haste can cost a life. From caves in South Africa to wrecks off Massachusetts, from the jaws of sharks to the grip of ocean currents, these stories reveal the sheer unpredictability of the sea. Each tragedy is different, but together they remind us of the same truth. The ocean is vast, beautiful, and merciless. Diving allows humans to enter another world, but it is one that demands humility and respect. Every breath taken underwater is borrowed, and every dive is a calculated risk. So the next time the ocean's surface sparkles under the sun, remember the 15 divers whose stories were told here. For them, the sea was not just an adventure, it was the end. If these stories gripped your attention, remember to subscribe for more true and chilling tales from around the world. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, and share this with someone who thinks diving is only about coral reefs and sunshine. The ocean has many faces, and not all of them are kind.